Welcome to La Ventanita, the Miami Herald food podcast. I'm Carlos Frias, the Miami Herald food editor, joined every week by my buddy over there, Amy Reyes.
What's up?
What's going on? Oh, I got the point right.
Yeah, we got it right this time.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, well, we had a pretty good banter show last week. That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to relive Jeremy Ford kicking Bourdain's butt. That was super fun.
That was super fun.
That was a moment.
That was one of those things you have to spend a little time on.
Yeah,
for sure. So what's going on with you? What do you had?
Oh,
you were traveling, right?
I had to go to California this weekend because my 99-year-old grandmother died last year, and so this was the weekend that we were gonna put her ashes in the Pacific Ocean. So we had to meet up in Long Beach, which is like that's my Cali place. So we go to Long Beach and we put her ashes in the area there in the bay, whatever. And then we went to eat at the Fish House, which is like the restaurant that my grandma used to like frequent because it was around the corner from her house. She lived in like a little suburb called Los Alamitos.
Was that Grandma Dorothy, or is that a different
Grandma Dorothy? Yes.
Grandma Dorothy, man, she was a legend. It sounds.
She was a legend. She outlived my mom, so like she literally was just living her best life. Now listen to my grandma. So my grandma was a widow, right? You know, my grandpa died a couple years back. When she got into the old folks' home in Arizona, where living close to my uncles, she found herself a man.
I knew where this was going. Before you even finished that sentence, I knew where you were going with that.
A buddy, our little, she had a boo. So she was booed up at the retirement home, and you know, she was fun. She would just sit there, drink her gin and tonics, and laugh. I love Grandma Dorothy.
That is so funny, man. What was like her? What did she and her beau do? It was at the retirement home, right? So
I'm saying they probably.
What G-rated things did they do? I'm sure,
they just went through their day together awake. I mean, it's like my grandma was
still
old.
Awake over there.
Yeah,
still awake.
What you doing?
You know, if 99-year-olds were listening to this, there's so much we don't know about the internal lives of theirs.
I'm serious.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the nuts and bolts.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yes, do you remember that whole thing where there was the one place up in like Boca-ish where there was like I guess it's not the right word, but a rash of STDs?
Yes, I do remember.
Yes.
Stories. Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's just let's leave it that we don't have to go there, but
do not.
But you know what? That could be a whole other podcast.
Yeah, that's something else. But anyway, so we went to the
the villages. Yes, the villages. That's right.
Sounds about right.
Yep.
I got the herpes going on. Anyway, no, so we went to the Fish House, which is like this restaurant in a strip mall near her house, because I think Los Alamitos, I could be wrong, but I feel like Los Alamitos is the Kendall of Long Beach, because it's
is that right?
It had a real Kendall vibe to it. Yeah. Like now that I revisit as an adult, it had a real super Kendall vibe to it, because just a bunch of houses and a bunch of strip malls. And then the original Fish House is the place that my grandmother used to always take us for our fancy lunches and dinners. And she would get something called a calamari steak, which, like, in retrospect, this is a calamari steak. I don't know where the steak is coming from, but it's a
big pasture raised calamari.
I'm saying
free range calamari.
Dude, I have no idea, but it's a calamari, and she used to eat the heck out of that. And so
I don't know how you make a steak out of a calamari. You kind of like Pierre and I the three of us were kind of texting about that a little bit earlier, like it, because Pierre worked with a chef. He was a chef. He worked in a kitchen, so he knows the
maybe
quotes.
You just don't know all the calamari species. Maybe Fish House had a different kind of
some big monster calamari species.
Anyway,
but that looked
so
pretty
Grandma
good.
liked to get that. We all had that, and we raised the glass to Grandma, and it was great. So.
Oh. Well, she did a lot for you guys, so I'm glad we were able to celebrate her life a little bit.
It was really nice, and it didn't rain, and I can't complain. It was a wonderful, laying to rest of a wonderful woman.
Right, that's awesome. I've been unfortunately I continue in my pizza obsession. I continue.
Oh my God, seriously.
Like it's honestly that whole pizza pull just took me down. It took me down the rabbit hole, and and just the idea of thinking about new pizzas. And I, in general, have been making pizzas for a long time. It started as
Are you like hate making pizza because of my pizza poll? Is this what you're doing? You're like,
no,
all these pizzas are so dumb. I can make better pizza. Let me just do it.
maybe.
Yeah.
You know
Okay,
what?
well,
It was one of those dishes that it was fun to make with my kids. Like I remember when King Arthur came out with their first gluten-free flour, and one of my friends at the time, who was the food editor at the Palm Beach Post, was like, "Why don't you take this home and see if you can make pizza out of it with your kids?" And we did, and it was like pretty good. And then from then it was like, what would this taste like with actual dough? And then it became one of those things that like the girls and I would do together, and I've probably been making pizza for like 10 years at home, all kinds of different kinds, always changing the recipes and stuff.
That's really impressive. So what was your latest pizza conquest?
So, you know, I've been messing with this sourdough starter. Like I skipped that, like I said, I kind of skipped that during the heart of the pandemic. So now I'm coming back around to it. And we made, so I was fussing with when to use the starter. Like that's the thing, is figuring out like do you use it when it's really bubbly and alive? Do you do it when it goes down? And I must have caught it at the right time because I made I used it to make a pan pizza, kind of like there it is. Pierre's
Look
got a
at
photo
that.
of it. It was incredible. Like the edges coming out super cheesy and crispy. You know, it was a good probably like 1.5 inches thick. You know, with all the toppings on it, and it had some air bubbles in it, and it was just delicious. It was like I'm gonna be making this thing again.
I want some.
But you know, but dude, the sourdough is like bringing home a new baby, because like, and when you're doing the pizza, like you make the sourdough mix the night before, and then you leave it out.
Feed it.
You got to leave it out, and then when you wake up in the morning, it's ready, and it's like, oh, you got to do something to it. You got to, you know, yeah. And the sourdough itself, you got to feed it, and you got to take out half of it, and then feed it, and then add water, and it's a whole thing. It's just like having a new baby, and you're on it. You're on its schedule.
Yes.
So today I baked a bread with that sourdough starter, and there it is.
Look how pretty.
I made an olive loaf, which you have feelings about. Our colleague Connie
Why
has
would you put an olive?
Feelings.
Why would you put an olive in bread? That just doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm not gonna lie. Gabby loves the olive bread. I actually like olive bread, so I was like, all right, let's mix some Kalamata olives into it. And I'm waiting to cut into it. I'm waiting to cut into it tonight. Like it literally, I was on its schedule.
You haven't even eaten it yet,
dude. I had to like babysit it during the day. I had to bake it, and then I had to wait an hour. And now it's all wrapped up in my kitchen in a.
I would eat that hot, like piping hot. That would be good hot. I wouldn't even notice the olives if it was hot enough.
You gotta wait an hour, because if not, all the moisture leaves. So I'll report back. But it looks
okay. Well, yeah, that's your mission.
Correct. I'm gonna wait, but we'll see.
All right. Well, listen, I really need you to give me your hot take on a story that you posted on Monday.
Okay.
We need to talk about Bon Appetit's 3 best new restaurants in Miami.
Oh boy. Yeah, it was one of those things where I've been to 2 of those 3 places. I have not been to Los Felix. So Los Felix, Paradis Books and Bread, and Sonny's Steakhouse, which was called at some point Sonny's Sometimes Steakhouse. And the funny thing is, Paradis is not a full restaurant. Like if you told somebody, oh, give me a name of a restaurant, you told them Paradis, and you went there, and all they had was bread and spreads and wine, like really great bread and really great spreads and homemade stracciatella, but it's not like a restaurant in a traditional sense, almost in any way. And Sonny's was a pop-up, and it's closed indefinitely. Like I was talking to Will Thompson, he's like, I hope this gets people over to Jaguar Sun, which is like, it started as a pop-up for Jaguar Sun. So I'm like, what? Are you okay over there, Bon Appetit?
Yeah, I'm very confused about those rankings, because a lot of really nice places opened in the past year that, I don't know, still are open that you could go to. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just seems kind of like a weird choice.
And the thing is, like, especially like the Sonny's thing, right? Because
that's in particular, it's closed. You can go to it. Like, that seems like a very strange. It seems like a wasted opportunity, because, like, if you're gonna because people read these stories whenever we write ranking stories about restaurants that are like nationally recognized by different publications. People read those stories. You know, we got the stats, and so the fact that they would use that opportunity to honor a place that like you can't go to it. You just can't go to it.
It's yeah, and again, all those three places, what they're doing a great job of it. I can't speak for Los Felix, but from folks that I've talked to, you know, folks who've gone who've liked it, you know, said that.
Yeah.
But it's just odd. It's two of them are really odd choices. Specifically,
well,
one place that's not open.
Specifically, the one that's not open. Yeah. Well, I would have to say that I would go to Paradis Books and Bread for my Holy Communion diet of wine and bread. That seems like a good good night out to me.
And cheese, like a soft spread of cheese that Stracciatella was insanely good. So yeah, I mean, they're great.
It's know what you're getting into. You're not going to get a steak.
Well, perfect. As a matter of fact, before this came out, our columnist Fabi Santiago was going out to dinner, and she's like, "I'm going to be in North Miami area. Is there anything new or interesting that you recommend?" And I was like, "Well, an old favorite is Ricky Thai, which is right down the street. They make incredible Thai food. They use really fresh ingredients. They work with local farmers and just make great Thai food in a very low key place." Actually, they're going to be expanding pretty soon into a space next to it. And then I was like, and there's another place, Paradis Books and Bread. I said, if you want something light, mostly bread and spreads. If you go at night, there'll be pizzas that they make out of, you know, kind of a focaccia style thing. But with those caveats. And it's like, if you're talking about a best restaurant, there should be caveats. You know, it should just be like.
It should just be like.
Yeah, and it's like 50 best new restaurants in the country. And 3 are in Miami. So at least, like, you know, I think there is like a pull for everybody to kind of like catch up. I think that's part of it is like, let's catch up with this city that is getting a lot of attention. You know, the Michelin stars a couple years ago. I mean, a couple months ago.
It's nice that they honored a place that's not Miami Beach, you know.
Yes, that's true. None of those places are on South Beach. And none of them are in Wynwood, so which is really interesting too. So,
well, as our friend from The Infatuation has reminded us, it's no place to eat. Don't go to eat in Wynwood.
Don't go to eat in Wynwood.
He's like, sure. No. He's got like a short list.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing I was mentioning to you earlier is that I binged The Bear. You told me you saw the first episode. No. Yeah, I had that similar thing where I could
give me your hot take because I couldn't get through one episode.
There are moments that are really frenetic and kind of like nail biting, and I've never really worked in a kitchen like that, so I can't really say that it gives flashbacks. But I can see how Jeremy Ford, how he was talking about.
Yes, he was really he had PTSD. He was like, I can't watch that.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, the chef, the basis is that the owner dies and he leaves it to his brother, and his owner dies in a way that's very typical for typical for that industry, you know, which is very high stress. Spoiler alert here, if you want to skip ahead another 15 seconds or come back in about 15 seconds, you know,
don't reveal the bear.
Yes, he takes his own life. That's revealed very early on. Everybody knows it at this point. And because that is a very common thing. It reminded me today of this one young man, Michael Shikani, who had a restaurant here and was really well known, really well liked, and he had a restaurant in Wynwood before Wynwood was like, you know, a big splashy thing. And same thing, it came very much as a surprise. And but that happens in that industry quite a bit, and you know, and that and alcoholism, you know, the isms and that's another avenue that they explore in that show too. So
okay, well then give me some hope for this show, because the reason why I couldn't stomach it was because I couldn't deal with the power struggle between the main character, the guy from Shameless. I can't remember the actor's name, but the chef guy, and then the other one who had been there the whole time. Is he a brother or is he a cousin?
He's like a cousin, and it's like that's actually the
power struggle was so annoying. I was just like, he's obviously like a trained chef, and like, yeah, you know, you've been here this whole time, but like, just let him do his thing for a little bit. Let him, like, he's like cooking a pork leg for 3.5 hours. Like, let him, he's obviously an artist. You know,
he knows he's an artiste. It's honestly, as that show goes along, they do a really great job at creating sympathy for those characters that are initially make you feel something, right?
Yeah.
Like whether it's revulsion or whether it's, you know, annoyance or whatever, they build nuance in those characters, you know, and that's really what I found to be like the most interesting part. Like, it was really, you know, it was
I'll have to give it another chance. I was just so stressed out. It was stressing me out. Like, you guys just go outside and fight, and then let everybody else in the kitchen finish cooking. You guys just go handle your beef out there.
Yeah, there was some gentle storytelling later on that's really nice and really interesting and beautiful. So I would recommend it. Try the second episode and see how you like it.
I'll try it.
They're also short. They're only like 30 minutes for the most part.
Oh, okay. Then that means I made it 15 minutes.
There is one episode which is one service, one dinner service, the arc of one dinner service. And it's just like almost real time. I want to, and it wasn't a single camera.
No, Carlos, that would stress me out.
It was 22 minutes. It was 22 minutes, and you have like sweat on your lip. You're like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So, but try another episode.
Okay.
But you know what? Maybe we can ask today's guest about her.
I feel like she may have a lot of input on this.
Her TV viewing habits, because I've not talked to any kind of chef about this, so I am kind of curious. And so our guest today is Annie Meinhold. So I can't say the word pop-up today without thinking of Annie. Now, that word may have entered the zeitgeist, but it was unheard of when Annie and her partner opened Miami's first pop-up 10 years ago. I know, 10 years ago.
Damn.
That pop-up was Phuc Yea. It's a Vietnamese concept that came alive every night when she and her co-founder, Cesar Zapata, took over the Crown Bistro downtown. So they hung drapes, they changed centerpieces, and most importantly, they rewrote the menu at someone else's restaurant. What a novel concept,
I know, right?
And now it's a Michelin-recognized restaurant on its own after some not different concept that they had throughout their lives here in Miami. So I want to ask Annie about all she's seen running the restaurants in Miami in the last 10 years. We've seen her change concepts. Do you remember the Federal? Remember the Federal? That was them. She's changed, the concept. She's changed her relationship with Cesar, and she's kind of watched Miami change through a pandemic and into getting a Michelin star. So I want to ask her all about that. So welcome, Annie. Welcome to
Annie.
Hi, thanks for having me, guys.
How are you? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That background is so lovely.
Yeah, I know.
You're at Phuc Yea right now, isn't it?
I am a Phuc Yea. I'm sitting inside of our PDR.
What is a PDR?
Private dining room.
Oh, look at that. Amy, write that down.
I'm going to have to.
PDR.
You didn't learn that on the Bear?
I did not learn that on the Bear.
No, they don't have a PDR on the Bear. Although I have to say, I loved the show. I binged it too.
Did you?
It didn't stress you out?
It didn't stress me out.
Did it give you flashbacks?
It totally gave me flashbacks. I definitely remember having those meltdown moments. I've definitely seen Cesar run into a cooler. I've definitely climbed through an expo line and freaked out. Like, are we allowed to curse on this show?
It's fine. It's fine. Everything is fine.
No worries.
But like that cooler thing is interesting because that's the escape for lots of chefs, right? Like you walk into the cooler, I got to get something, and really it's just to
I just need to hide.
Sit there and hide for a minute.
There's that part of it, but there's the actual temperature part of it. Because you walk into a walk-in cooler, you're stressed out. It's a hot kitchen. You're stressed out. Your head's hot. Like your body is shaking and your heart is pumping. And you walk into a cooler and it just like shocks you out of it. There's a physical component to it that
interesting.
Actually helps you. It's kind of like doing a cold plunge, but it's not a plunge.
You want to know my restaurant experience? I think I've talked about this. I know that I have before, but like my first job outside of working with my parents at their jewelry store, they had a little mom and pop jewelry store in Carroll City. I worked at a Chuck E. Cheese, and I spent like I want to say 6 months working in the kitchen, like making pizzas, and they had a huge walk-in, like a walk-in the size of probably most pop-ups. And same thing, like you would walk in there for whatever ingredient was, and you slowly start kind of calcifying inside because it gets really cold.
It does get cold.
Yeah, it does get cold. I later worked the dining room, and at least on a couple shifts, I was in the rat suit. So,
dude, Carlos ruined Chuck E. Cheese for me because he knew what it's like when they empty the ball pit.
Oh, forget it.
Ew.
That is the worst of all things. Ew. It's the worst of all things. So
I can't even imagine what's in there. Oh my God.
No, just you can. You absolutely can. And it's every horrible thing that you can imagine.
And if it's in Miami, there's probably like a scattering of little mini bags on it.
It's just like, what are all these dime bags doing in here? No wonder those kids are bouncing around.
Oh my God, I knew I lost something.
I had the kid holding it. He dropped it.
Oh, that's so funny.
So bad. So bad. Note to self, don't take kids to Chuck E. Cheese anymore.
Yeah.
Don't touch those balls.
Don't stay away from the ball pit. I think
Stay away from the ball pit.
They may not have ball pits anymore, and that's really the best thing they could have done.
So really. what was the circumstances under which you guys would get the most stressed out in your previous like in kitchens in general? Like what were the things that caused the most stress for you guys?
I mean, God, it's such a pressure cooker of an environment. I can't even begin to tell you any one specific item, you know, like I just know that, you know, Cesar and I have always worked in upscale environments, whether it was the Four Seasons, the Sept, Michelle Bernstein, Mosaico Salero, like Fratelli Leone. We've just always worked in very like critically acclaimed high-end establishments. And so the pressure of execution in a timely fashion is really just out of bounds, you know? And it's that time thing. Every single time you have a ticket come up in the kitchen or behind the bar, and they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming just because you're like backed up. They keep coming. And then from a server perspective, you have a station with 6 to 8 tables, and you're literally looking down at a room with like 24 different faces with 24 different moods and 24 different tastes and different requests and all of this stuff. And it's just, it's a pressure cooker of an environment, because as a hospitality professional, you're supposed to juggle all of those requests, all of those tickets, prioritize them, you know, make sure that you can cluster them. How are you going to execute them all in a timely fashion? Do it while, you know, on your feet with grace and a smile, still able to tell jokes and still protect your fellow diner from like dying because they're allergic to peanuts.
Right.
You
So wait, since you've been doing this for so long, give me the profile of like the worst kind of diner to walk into a door in a
Yes. Somewhere Anthony Bourdain is clapping right now.
I don't even like have a question for that. Vegans.
Wow.
Because vegans think that just because they're vegan, they deserve to have a space at the table.
Right. Like everywhere they go, where's your vegan part of your menu?
Correct.
It's not Houston's, where's your,
yeah,
Longhorn?
Why?
Yeah. Like they're not asking to be part of the table. They're not requesting something. They're just they feel entitled enough to demand their taste profile anywhere they go, whether or not it suits them, whether or not it fits them. And you know what? At the end of the day, at Phuc Yea, we have tons of vegan options. We really do. We have tons of items that are modifiable to be veganized as well, but still like, because we're not the conventional restaurant. We're not a 3-meal restaurant. We just do what we do because we feel like it. So the vegan dishes that we make are based on what we feel like making. If they don't suit your taste, do yourself a favor, call the restaurant, go online, send an email, and do your due diligence.
Yep.
I don't think that just because we don't have a veggie curry as an entree portion plate because you want to pay $15 for dinner is not reason enough to like, you know, slap me in the face for not being a vegan restaurant. We have tons of vegan options.
One star Yelp review. I didn't eat here, but I went here. I know. I hate. That's.
Oh my God. They didn't have any vegan options for me. Well, of course we do. We just didn't have the vegan options that you wanted, liked, or expected. Right. You know, I think managing guests' expectations is the hardest thing to do in a restaurant. And in a restaurant like ours, which originally started as Viet Cajun, and has evolved into a Vietnamese Latin expression at this very moment, we've never for a moment said we're traditional Vietnamese. We do traditional grandma cooking. That's never been our stance. And when you walk into this space, it doesn't even look like your traditional Vietnamese restaurant. So how you could even expect it to be is beyond me. So So navigating the expectations of people who wanted classic Vietnamese, grandma's cooking Vietnamese at like $10.99 a plate in a restaurant called Phuc Yea that has DJs is like, you're like,
it blows her mind.
It blows my mind. It blows my mind.
It's true.
It's on our website. It's called Yeah. The power of the device.
Yes. Please use it responsibly. Hey,
okay, well then on the flip side, what's your favorite kind of person to walk in the door? Do you guys have like a lot of regulars that you know?
We have a lot of
Miami. What's your favorite Miami customer?
We have a lot of regulars. My favorite guest is the guest that just walks in with a smile. They're so happy to be here. Hey Annie, what's up? Hey Kathy, what's up? What's up, Broly? You know, and then I'm gonna get this, and this. Cool. I'm gonna get a Phuc Den and bring home the boys. Cool. I want a tuk. Cool. You guys got any specials tonight? Yeah, we've got like a 1.5 pound branzino that we debone and crisp to order. I want that. You know, and it's like with the guest that comes in with a smile because they're happy to be here and they're happy to see us, or the guest that walks in a smile because there's so much anticipation in their experience, and again they're happy to be here, and we're able, and they give us enough trust and grace to create an experience for them, which is huge in our training and huge in our culture because. Clearly, we created a restaurant as a very personal expression of who Cesar and I are. So we want you to go down that path. If you want to come in and you want to check the boxes and order a roasted chicken or a seared salmon or a filet mignon with roasted potatoes, this is the wrong place.
Yeah. What? No filet mignon at
No filet mignon, no rosemary, no potatoes. We also don't have pho, so don't get me started with pho. It's not on the number of people who have told me, what do you mean you don't have pho? That's the name of your restaurant. It's called Phuc Yea. Yeah, it's not called Pho. Yeah, that's not pho. It's not even written the same.
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
Yeah, that's I don't know, man. I don't know how people do it. It takes a special breed to do what you guys do, man, and do it well.
Have you had a
New York, with that?
Have you had a New York diner experience yet? Because we've had,
of course. Yeah. We get tons of New Yorkers.
Sure, huh? You're definitely in the right part of town to get
lots
of New Yorkers.
We get tons of out of towners. Yeah. The restaurant, so Phuc Yea's clientele is largely local, but this is the place where anyone, if you have a friend coming in from out of town, you're bringing them here. You know, and then obviously with COVID and the advent of everybody moving into Miami and everything, we get a lot of, you know, whether it's a lot of transplant clientele without a doubt. And interestingly enough, a lot of Canadians. I don't know how that happened. We had a lot of Canadians.
Yeah, we still get a lot of snowbirds.
Which is cool. So actually, you know, people who come in from different cities are easier to please than our local clientele.
Oh, that's interesting. That is very interesting. Why? What do you think that is?
I think I don't know why I think that is. I don't have a reason for why that is.
It just is.
It just is. They're much easier to please than our local clientele. They're not as finicky, and they don't pretend to know everything.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. I never met a Latin who didn't know everything already.
Right? There's something about, you know, there's, you know, we're humans. We like go into spaces and we like to check our boxes and, you know, this is what I'm looking for. I think that Miamians just really like their boxes.
I guess so. Hey, so you've been now thinking about and living with Phuc Yea for 10 years. And I was thinking about that earlier, like going back and reading some old stories, and like the idea that you could point to this was Miami's first pop-up restaurant. When now, like especially in the last 2 years, like everything was a pop-up. Mm-hmm. So, tell me about how that idea was received when you were trying to get people to understand.
How'd you even sell it from the outside?
Yes, like how did you get the idea? Like I think you told me it came from LA.
Give me a restaurant. Let me just set up.
So it's so crazy how it all happened. I was just telling this story yesterday too. We basically got locked out of our first wine bar by partners.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we got locked out. A lawsuit ensued, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, fact of the matter was that it happened on the heels of a soured partnership. Cesar and I were still we were in our late 20s. And his family, his mom and sister had just moved to Miami, so he didn't want to leave. And we started sending out resumes, and I ended up, no one would hire us. Nobody would hire us. They were like, for the positions that you like, I wanted to go back to school and get my master's, so I was applying for server positions, but nobody would hire me. And Cesar was getting exec chef job positions in the Middle East. And we're like, what is going on here? And so my grandfather passed. I had to go to San Francisco for his funeral. And in that process, when I was in San Francisco, Cesar's like, look, we are going to try to do a pop-up. When you come back from San Francisco, we're going to do a pop-up. And if it doesn't work for 3 months, then we're out. And I'm like,
how did he hear about that? Like, what was that concept? How did that come into his vernacular?
We had a friend who had just moved down from New York, actually. And so pop-ups were starting to be a thing in New York. And I had no idea what the hell was going on. What's a pop-up, whatever. He's like, I'll explain it to you when you come back. I'm like, cool. So I get back from my grandfather's funeral. And Danny and Cesar are like, so this is what's going on. This is what we need. So we basically needed a restaurant that we could take over during off-peak hours. And by that, just by that necessity alone, that landed us in downtown. So between going to what I was responsible for was going to downtown restaurants and knocking on doors and see if they would even let us do this.
Wow.
Like, hey, like, we want to rent your restaurant when you're closed, and you don't know me from nobody. And yeah, this is what I want to do in 2011.
And this was downtown in 2011,
which
is like at 7 p.m. at downtown Miami is just in 2011 was a ghost town, like just desolate. All you saw were the homeless people walking around, crazy. And so then while we were looking for places, then Cesar, Danny, and I were coming up with ideas, and we're like, well, Miami has no Vietnamese food. And we're like, all right, so we're going to do a Vietnamese concept. Danny was from New York City. Cesar grew up in Patterson. I grew up in Manhattan also. You know, there was no hip hop vibe down here. So we're like, we all grew up with like old school hip hop. We're like, all right, old school hip hop, because we're all from the Northeast. Graffiti vibes, Vietnamese food, because there's a void. I'm like, all right, here we go. Cesar and Danny came up with the name, which when they presented it to me, I was like, you guys are nuts. Right.
Because they basically started going through like baby books, you know, like baby names.
Oh, that's so like, funny. How do we name our new restaurant, baby? So they went through like baby names, and there Cesar was like, I'm like, what? I'm like, that is a real. He's like, that is a real Vietnamese name. That is a real name.
Real name.
Remember the basketball player? I forget who he played for. It was just on the back of his jersey, and it's amazing.
And so you pronounce it Phuc, like phonetically.
Let's
F-O-O-K.
pronounce it like that for the rest of the show.
Yeah,
right. So it's pronounced.
Makes life easier.
It's supposed to be pronounced Phuc, right? And the best part of the name is that Phuc means blessings, prosperity, good fortune, and good health. It happens to also be the saint of prosperity in like that? All like Asian culture. Yes,
the other pronunciation also has good
great connotations.
Of course, like I mean, this is America. It's like the best word in the world
ever.
So ever. So like we're like, all right, you get a Phuc and you get a Phuc. And so many Phucs to all. Everybody gets a Phuc.
So many Phucs to give.
Yep, so many Phucs to give. You're a fat Phuc, you know that?
Oh my God, I fucking love it.
So I was like, y'all are crazy. This is a terrible idea. They're like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Yes, it is. And anyway, I lost because we were 3. I voted no. They voted yes. I lost, clearly. But it turned out to be marketing gold. You know, here we had the name, we got the logo done. I wrote up a really snappy press release, and this was like in the age of Twitter. Social media was just starting to become a thing. Facebook was kind of a thing, but it was mostly Twitter at the time. So, and of course, we all know the PR 101 press release are supposed to be pretty like, you know, black and white. They're pretty mundane. But with this being a pop-up and all, it was an extravagant press release, to say the least. But hey, fantastic. You know what? The name, the release, that just
a lot of exclamation points on it.
No, there was a lot of flowery language though. Not exclamation points, because it doesn't, our name doesn't have an exclamation point at the end, but a lot of flowery language that, no, it doesn't. And it doesn't have an H either.
Yeah, there's no H, but I thought there was an exclamation point.
There was an exclamation point.
Thank you.
I think possibly the pop-up had an exclamation point, but the
restaurant doesn't. Right?
The restaurant does not. Right. And so, you know, thankfully we were able to really grab people's attention. And so the first night we opened, I think that week, the week of Friends and Family, we got into Urban Daddy, and Belkis came and did a show on us, and Johanna did a show on us when she was on Channel 10. And the first night we opened, we sold out at 8:45 at night. There was a line out the door at 8:45 at night.
That's how you know.
And
that's
like
the gold, man.
Half of the menu was gone. So then people would sit down like, what do you mean you don't have this? What do you mean you don't have that?
You're late is what I mean, vegan.
You know,
listen,
like,
vegan. Try coming back an hour earlier.
It's so, oh my God, so much happened. So many people left so mad that night. But you know what? That was September 1 of 2011. And Phuc Yea has been part of Miami's dining vernacular since then. And that's, you know, we are part of Miami's dining fabric, which is really awesome. Really awesome.
It's cool that you guys have stuck to or been able to come back to that concept. You know, when you opened Phuc Yea, the restaurant, which was when? When did you guys open the restaurant?
The doors, well, we did Friends and Family from September 1st to the 7th and opened on September 8th in 2016.
Oye, la gente tan gritona por allá.
Están cocinando ahí.
I know. You can yell at somebody if you want. You can yell at
We
them.
have a lot of personalities here.
Wow.
A lot of loud personalities.
Pero wow.
So, I mean, but then the other thing is, the other thing about Phuc Yea, aside from it being like the first pop-up, I mean, and I think this goes to who we are, who Cesar and I are at the core, is that we had nothing. We had to pay our bills, and all we had was a $2,500 credit card. And that was it. So we maxed out this credit card to get the curtains and the tabletop stuffs and whatever the case was, and had to buy food every single day and prep food from scratch every single day. So like the grit, the hustle, the resilience that we needed 12 years ago, 11 years ago to do what we were doing is something that we still have today. So like you were saying in the intro earlier, Carlos, that, you know, we had the pop-up and then we did the federal and then we changed the federal to the Fed and then we went vegan. And then from there, you know, like Phuc Yea at this point today is very much a personal expression of who we are, you know, where we started, where we were, where we are today, where we're going. You know, it outlived our relationship. You know, we were together at one point in time. We were together for 15 years, and now we've been separated for 4 years at this point. But we're
mature.
There. We are the best of friends. We're family, and we're even better partners than we've ever been before.
That's awesome. That's I mean, really, that is really an amazing test. That's very much a Jack White kind of White Stripes kind of story, you know, like the fact that you guys are able to maintain this really successful restaurant and obviously a very successful working relationship, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of through that, like you said, you become family,
what was
right?
The secret to it? How did you manage it? Because I'm sure it must have been awkward for a bit, like when you guys were first like, yeah, this part of our relationship isn't going to work.
Yeah.
It was awkward for a few months. It was actually like It happened like right before we opened FOMO at Time Out Market. And it was difficult for the first few months, but then, you know, what we've always done has been so much bigger than ourselves, and we built something. So the option was to either let it implode and we both have to start from scratch, or get through the difficulties, work through the difficulties, and hopefully come out stronger at the end of it all. And that's what we did.
It's the idea with like L'Atelier de Joe Robuchon. Joe Robuchon is dead, but his restaurants, his empire, the thing that he created, Paul Bocuse, you know, it outlives them. You know, and in that sense, you know, Phuc Yea outlived like the origin story to become this thing that you guys created.
No matter what happens to Cesar or myself, like, this restaurant will continue. This will continue. This will persist because the people who work here make that happen. You know, I think.
Did I see that your sister is working there now? Is what, like, when going like your Instagram, you had like a picture of like maybe your sister or something, or am I making that up?
No,
you don't have a sister that works there. All right. Well, there was some relation. Maybe it was like sister from another mister, then, type of thing. So how do you build that staff? How do you like build the thing where, like, you know, it outlives not outlives you, but that it has life beyond just the two of you.
I think ultimately, people, chefs in the making, managers, restaurateurs in the making, people need to know and understand and realize that restaurants are a machine. Restaurants are comprised of the people who work in them and the people who frequent them. It's not just because, you know, this is not the Annie show. This is not the Cesar show. This is like the Phuc Yea show. Cesar and I set the standard. We create the vision, and we live the vision, and everyone else executes by that vision, you know? And so it's so much more than it just being like, you know, the Carlos show or the Amy show. It's and that
no, ours is very much the Carlos and Amy show. If one of us goes away, it's actually the Pierre show, because if he goes away, the show's over.
Without him,
show
there's
ends.
no show.
Right.
I have to say, I have a couple of restaurants that I go to because I like a waitress. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, there's a waitress that I go and I know that I'm gonna have a good experience with her, and the food is fine. You know what I'm saying? I'm not necessarily. I'm going because I know the experience is gonna be good. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, there's plenty of places that you've gone that, like, maybe the food was great, but you didn't feel like you didn't feel, I don't know, like, it's like putting on a shirt. You're like, that looks good, but this is not my style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it could be, places could be like that, you know? Church is like that for me.
Look, restaurants serve different purposes. You know, I think, again, you asked me what my favorite guest was. My favorite guest was a guest that comes in smiling and is just happy to be there. Yeah. You know, sometimes when you come into a restaurant and you're not smiling, it's up to our staff to make you smile, give you a reason to smile. And sometimes, you know, people go to restaurants because they want an experience. They want to go in because they're in the mood for a certain dish or a certain cocktail. They want to see a certain person because, like, you know, they always have a great experience with that person. It doesn't just have to be about food. I mean, going to a restaurant these days is much more experiential than just nourishment.
Right. And talk to me a little bit about the last couple of years, because I think one of the times that we really sat down and we talked for a while, it was like early in the takeout and delivery phase of COVID. Like, you were you guys were one of the first to say, you know what, this is what's going to keep us afloat.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really remarkable, like, what you guys did.
So, I mean, we prepared for that shutdown in February. We knew something was coming in the pipeline.
Wow.
So when the decision came down on March 16th, which was a Monday, we closed on Tuesdays. So we wrapped everything up on Tuesday, put it in storage, flipped the menu, and on Wednesday we were ready for delivery.
Wow. That is incredible.
We never missed a beat. We never closed.
There's this incredible photo that our photographer Matthias Ochner took, where you're like you got takeout bags in both hands. You know what I mean? And you're.
Oh my God! Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
I was delivering.
You were making.
I was delivering food out of my Mini for the first month.
Yes.
Because there were no insurance companies were not willing to extend temporary insurance throughout throughout COVID. It didn't exist actually.
Like you couldn't, which means, Amy, you couldn't insure your
own employees.
Yeah, your own employee to become a driver. You couldn't insure them to do
Oh,
that.
okay. So you had to do it yourself.
So I had to do it myself.
Yeah. And that's crazy. And you were driving all over.
All over.
And you weren't using Uber Eats or any of those apps yet?
Not for the first month, no.
Yeah.
For the first month it was just me.
At first, those apps they kept all their same pricing, and people were hurting over that. As I recall, was part of that.
I think those third-party vendors are thieves. For the record, they're all thieves. They're all thieves.
Do you use them now? Is it like one of those uncomfortable alliances that you?
It's touch and go, to be very honest with you. Just because for Phuc Yea, delivering our food and serving it 45 minutes to an hour later really just is not the experience. No, it's not the experience we're looking to sell. We want you to be here. We want you to be in the lights. We want you to sit in a dark corner. We want you to hear our music, like the sounds of a restaurant, the shaking of a cocktail. It's so different than eating it out of a cold, mushy box. It just doesn't do our experience justice.
Right. Yeah, I imagine that Phuc Yea, which is the spot you guys have in the timeout market, probably does. That food holds up a lot better to that.
Yeah, we do a ton of takeout out of timeout market. It definitely lends itself more.
Yeah, a big bowl of pho, you can bring it home and you nuke it, and
yeah, right.
And you're 9/10 of the way there,
Yeah.
Also, there's not really, it's the food hall experience, That's
right.
I'm probably more comfortable at home than at the food hall generally.
Yeah, you're not paying. Dinner for two at Phuc Yea is $150. Right. That sticker doesn't change whether it's delivery or not. Actually, it becomes more expensive by delivery. So, are you really delivering value with subpar product?
Right.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Do you guys do you guys see yourself opening something else outside beyond this as well, or do you is this right about what you guys can handle?
No, I mean, I would love. Well, so FOMO is our scalable concept. That's definitely over the counter. We're looking for locations as we speak. A couple locations have fallen through the cracks just because we're seeing that between permitting costs, construction costs, things. Doing business in Miami has become very expensive.
Right.
And then as far as Phuc Yea, I would love to open another Phuc Yea. Are you kidding me? I mean, I wouldn't open another one in Miami, but I would love to open another one. This is my baby.
Right.
Where would you think? Like, what other city do you think would be the right audience for this?
I love the idea of being, Atlanta, New York, DC. If I was to stay in Florida, Delray would be another area that would be really good. Downtown Delray or downtown Las Olas, something like that.
Delray, and it's funny, Boca is kind of getting more interest again. I want to say that the Carbone people took over one of the resorts there, like the Boca Resort. And it's, I think the influx of people from New York have kind of pumped up the population a little bit in both those towns. And Delray is very cool. Like that strip in and around Delray, Pineapple Grove, just north of that is very cute, very cool. So talk to me a little bit about like what are the other things like in your life when, because it's funny, when we were talking about the show The Bear, Al, it's like that guy's only life is the restaurant. Like there are scenes the guy has nightmares about it. He wakes up shaggy headed and he goes to the restaurant and he has no life outside of that. But I don't get the sense that that's you. That the restaurant.
I'm also older than he is.
That's true.
I mean, I don't have a life. I work a lot. And, I'm up by 7 o'clock in the morning. I work in the morning. I take some time in the middle of the day and then I work at night. I still have a very, very long work week because I still self-do a lot of things.
Right.
So what do you mean?
You said you self-do a lot of things
like I still, like I do all of our social, I do all of our digital, I do graphics, all of our branding. Obviously liaise with all of our third parties, between Phuc Yea and FOMO, employee stuff, HR stuff. It's I still do it myself. I'm not at a point yet where I can retain a third party or hire someone to handle it all. So I still handle all those things.
Yep. I saw that you work out quite a bit. I've always seen like
I do.
I always see like you're in some stories, either I don't know if it's boxing, but some kind of like always physical activity that you're doing.
Yeah, I do. That's my therapy. That's my church. Whether it's like lifting weights or doing HIIT training. Yeah, that's definitely therapeutic. It allows me to deal with the crazy. There's something about when you know that your work environment is always inconsistent. Like it's inconsistent at best.
You can't plan for it.
You can't plan for it. There's no textbook that's going to plan for, anything that happens in a restaurant, from, being short on your delivery or someone slipping and hitting, I slipped one time with a tray of glasses, and somehow the glasses didn't fall, but the one glass that fell broke on the side of the door, and the stem landed in my shin, which landed me in a hospital.
Oh, that's
like
painful.
So super random.
Wow.
So the forces that be, there's no textbook that prepares you for the forces that be. So whatever you do outside of these four walls, wherever they are, like home has to be really stable, it
has to make you stronger.
Mental,
for the effort.
Whatever your mental health management is, that is real. That is real. Mental health is a real issue. Addiction and substance abuse is a real issue in our industry. And just overall health, taking care of yourself, because a lot of people don't eat properly and they smoke and they drink a lot. And, it's very easy to let those things just kind of, get out of control.
Take over your life. Yeah. Adrian Castro was telling us that the young guy who's the bar manager at Union Beer Store and does the Banco Bistec out of there. He's very much kind of puts that front and center, like the whole mental health aspect of it,
it is.
He's very honest with the fact that, that he has a lot of anxiety and things like that kind of affect your ability to like function, and it's the idea of dealing with those things with something other than, than drugs and alcohol, which is really self-medicating in a lot of ways that is very common,
Yeah, one of the themes of the chefs, just kind of randomly, one of the themes of many of our interviews have been like, what's your fit life like?
Yes, what is
because a lot of the chefs are like, I do jujitsu, I do taekwondo, I run, I do marathons, I do triathlon, and so it seems like if you work in a high pressure environment like a kitchen or like in a restaurant industry, you need that like physical exertion.
You need the physical exertion or exhaustion for that matter, because that repetitive movement, that extreme release of energy is also equates to extreme release of emotion. Right. So when you walk into that restaurant space, you don't have all of these emotions like balled up in your stomach or in your chest ready to come out. You kind of walk in like a clean slate, ready to heal, ready to deal with like other issues.
I remember when you guys were switching from the federal to the Fed, that Cesar himself, like he had been having issues with like a glucose intolerance, and he started cycling a lot. Like he was cycling 300-mile runs and
Cesar and I used to ride a lot because he went vegan. He had some digestive issues.
Versus the ones who it's cool to be vegan, right?
No. He had to. Like he needed to go. He had an operation.
He's still vegan?
He's not vegan any longer, no. But he was vegan. He was vegan and gluten free for about a 6-month period. And to what? 2 years. Lies. 2 years.
Is he there? Is he on site?
He's here to put the record straight.
He's sitting right next to me.
All right, jump on in there. What's up, Cesar? What's going on, man? It's good to see you. It's so funny to. It's so
Look
funny.
at the
He's like,
boardroom.
yeah, the boardroom. Show. Oh, spin that camera around again. Let's see. Look around.
Oh,
Is
that's
it so? Your private dining room is also your kind of
It's
office
like our
space.
it's kind of our office space.
Very cool.
cute.
Very cool.
Those chairs
So,
are nice. Look very
Thank you.
comfy.
They're super comfy. So yeah, so there's a lot. I think you also have to get to that point though, because if you're kind of like a chef in the making, or a manager in the making, or a business owner in the making, you don't realize that you need to make the time to do that stuff. You don't realize that that's what's going to really, that it's not just to like look cute, like it's actual like part of your mental health regimen.
Totally.
So, but you got to come to that point.
Yeah, for most people, for a lot of people, it's always something that you know, like the most simple one is like, all my clothes seems to have shrunk in the dryer.
Yeah.
But
No, they didn't.
Exactly.
Check in the dryer.
Exactly.
You got on the service, and you've been drinking half a bottle of bourbon every single night for the last year.
And that just stores right in your gut, right there. That's where.
That's right. No, all my clothes shrunk. What happened? Every single item that has to close around my belly doesn't fit. What happened?
Doesn't fit anymore.
It must be the appliances. But
It's
no,
that's a lifestyle that like we don't have the desk job. We don't have flexibility. We don't have like this is the kind of a profession where you have to be here to make it happen. You physically need to be here to make it happen. And the fact that you deal with so many people at once makes it difficult to prioritize your own personal health and your own personal well-being.
Right.
So when is your me time? Is it before, in the middle, or at the end of your day?
It's usually in the middle, actually. I kind of work a split. So I'll work from like 8 o'clock in the morning until noon. And then from noon until 4, I'll do like my own stuff, my own personal stuff. And then I'll work service at night.
Hey, what did I see that you're doing some kind of pop-up boutique, like the Queen of Pop-Ups? What is?
Yeah, so we're doing something called Crave Collective on Sundays, and so it's basically myself and 3 other women. We're 3 friends, with all different specialties, and we decided to do a pop-up shop. You know, and so Sunday nights, it's a pop-up, and women, you know, different female entrepreneurs supporting female entrepreneurs and really showcasing different types of creativity within an already creative space. Everything that's like visual, clothes, jewelry, music, and the selections rotate on a weekly basis as well. So it's always a very dynamic show.
Cool. Where do you do it?
We do it in our private room, actually. It was it was living in the lobby before, but then we found that we got greater guest interaction with it being here in the private room, and it's like a really intimate fit to have like a store in here.
Oh, very cool. And then
Yeah.
so give me an example, like what's in the boutique? Like what you said, music, you said what else? Clothing.
So
Give me an idea.
so we do clothing, jewelry, accessories. I'm looking for a female sex toy company or owner, if anyone knows anybody. It's
Like
always
Phuc Yea branded sex toys. That sounds
yeah, absolutely.
That's a good fit. That's a good fit.
Making candles. If you're making candles that look like vaginas and phallic symbols, I'm all about it.
Dude, there's a place in Hialeah that's doing that with donuts, and it's like whatever.
Vagina donuts?
Yeah. Look it up.
That's great.
It is not subtle, is all I'm gonna say. It is not subtle.
I think the idea behind it, though, is it's really about showcasing, you know, female entrepreneurship and the fact that we can work together and create something beautiful. Be feminine, but be strong, be sexual, not be ashamed of like who we are just because we are women. And actually, my staff is largely female as well. So, you know, we're just, I think it's important to give women a platform with which to grow, develop, and express themselves.
Very cool. I think it's fantastic things. I literally so it's every Sunday at the restaurant.
At the restaurant, yes. Sunday nights from 5 to 9.
Sunday nights from 5 to 9. That's pretty.
Yep. Get those toys, and I'll be there.
Oh boy.
And it's
wow.
and like the clothes are amazing. One of the ladies her vibe is like vintage rock and roll upcycler. Then we have like a boat, like a boho vintage shopper. And then we have another one. She's more of like, kind of like she's like a music festival queen. So she does like facial, she does all of our music as well. She does like face chains and accessories and hand knotted things. All really beautiful stuff. And it's a range of price. You know, it's not like everything's not $1,000. You know, it starts from like $30 to like $500, depending on what it is. So like it's any budget really. Anything you never needed, it's there.
I want all the stuff I don't need.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
And after a couple glasses of wine,
girl, no.
Oh, that is so good. That's how you get them.
I'll start drunk then.
Oh my God.
Just Venmo.
Shopping and drinking is a thing.
Bad.
Annie, do you think like you're like a Miami local at this point? Like because you're getting these groups and like, have you come to the like? Usually, folks when they pass the 10-year mark in Miami, they kind of inherit the Miami local feel. Are you there yet?
I am definitely saying that I'm from Miami. I always think is a misnomer, just because I've lived a third of my life in three very important places: San Juan, Manhattan, Miami. All very formative periods of my life. But to say that I think Miami is my city, Miami is my city. You know, when people shit on Miami, I get really mad.
Yeah.
I get really mad. Like you don't get to talk smack about my city. Like you get to leave, actually. The plane is over there. The Uber costs $21. Just go ahead and jump in it. Because if you thought your city was so perfect, what are you doing in Miami? Okay, so like everything in life, there's a pro and a con. You need to measure them out for yourself. And if it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But don't be complaining because you can't get a bacon, egg, and cheese here.
Exactly. And then going a step further and talking about how great the place that you left was. Do you remember why you left that? Do you remember why you left that place?
I would rather take summer in Miami than have pata sucia in New York subways any day, or have to walk through the filth of all the trash bags everywhere in New York City. I'm sorry, going to the museum and eating bacon, egg, and cheese and eating bagels is not a good enough reason. Not to mention it's so expensive. That's
right.
It doesn't. It makes no sense.
You want a bacon, egg, and cheese bagel? Go up to El Bagel, and they have a fine one. And there you go.
Exactly.
There you go, New York.
Miami's the jam.
You've got Gold Belly. They'll ship it to you. All you got to do is fry an egg. You'll be fine.
That's right. Well, listen, before we let you go, you have to play our Kiss, Marry, Kill with food. And because now you...
What is Kiss, Marry, Kill? You have to walk me through this.
Kiss, Marry, Kill. You pick three... Okay, we're going to pick for you three food items. There's one that you get to kiss, like one that you have like the sweet affair with. The marry one, the one that you always want part of your life. And kill, the one that you have to get rid of.
You have to say goodbye to it forever.
Exactly. So
say goodbye to it forever. Say goodbye to it forever, keep it forever, or what?
Have a fling with it.
Have a fling with it.
Or have a fling with it.
So one is your lover, one is your husband, and one of them you kick to the curb.
That's right.
Okay. All right.
So because you're 305 now, we got to play our classic Kiss, Marry, Kill, which is cafecito, Cuban coffee, croquetas, and pastelitos. Those are like the three kind of like origin foods. So what do you think? Kiss, Marry, Kill those three.
I want them all.
Well, that's the game.
Is the quandary. This is the quandary.
This is the Sophie's choice of food.
Oh my God.
So talk to me about coffee. Let's start with cafecito. Like, are you a coffee person?
I'm a super coffee person, but the thing was, a couple of years ago, I went through this elimination diet, and I eliminated all sugar from my diet, all sugar and dairy from my diet, and I never went back.
Oh,
that's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah,
that
hence
is amazing.
With people who
the black cup of coffee in my hand. All I do is add cinnamon to it. I'd love. Cinnamon.
My fiance, that's what she does. Is like we make coffee, we make a French press in the morning. She just puts a little dab of cinnamon in it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so impressed with people who can do that. Anybody who can drink coffee without sugar. It's amazing.
And it's like, and don't get me wrong, I think a colada is the most delicious thing ever, but I can literally like dip a spoon in it and I can't eat it anymore. I can't drink it.
So the super sweetness of it is
the super sweetness of it. And then dairy croquetas are like the best hangover food ever.
Oh yes, so
Like
true.
a tostada preparada is like the best thing ever.
Forget about it, man. At like 3 a.m, coming back from the clubs, you stop at the Ventanita at Versailles, and it's
whatever.
Like, that's
Tostadita, croqueta, smush, and some hot sauce. That's the bomb right there.
Forget it. And a pastelito. Pastelitos are, so that gives you your 3. So now you got to kiss, marry, kill those 3. What do you think?
Okay, I can kill the pastelito.
You're not a fan.
Yeah, she's not a fan.
I'm all right with it.
You're okay with it.
Yeah, I'm all right with it. I'm okay with it. I'm neither here nor there. I just think it depends on the mood. I can live without it.
Okay.
And I guess the lover is the coffee because I like it, but I don't need the sugar. And I guess I can't live without my croquetas.
That's it.
I guess that's the husband.
That's the husband. You're booing up with the croquetas.
Yep. Marrying the croquetas, booing up with the coffee, kicking the pastelito to the curb.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bueno, Annie, you have been so generous with your time. We really appreciate you
Thank
coming
you.
and talking with us, and really thanks for bringing us pop-ups. I
Thank
really
you so
enjoy
much.
those.
I'm glad.
If it wasn't for you, nobody would know what to do during COVID.
Somebody else would have done it. But I'm happy that we were the first ones.
Exactly. Well, we wish you the best of luck, and I know Cesar can overhear us, so we're gonna wish him the best as well. And
bye, Cesar.
And thanks for bringing us very cool food and very cool concepts.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Annie. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. It's not often, especially in food ways, like when you're tracing the origins of food, where you can say that's where that thing started.
That's the one who did that thing.
Right. And we can actually say that we've met the person that really made that popularized pop-ups in Miami, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool because now we get them all the time.
All the time. Amy, you know what that feels like?
Feels like a show.
That feels like a show.
All right. Well, next week.
Okay, almost said next week. Next week is going to be, we're probably going to be talking food halls.
Yeah, we'll definitely be talking food halls next week. But are we getting our race car driver yet or no?
We are. He's going to be gone for a couple weeks, but we are going to get him. The race car driver is Alex Roy. Alex Roy is one of the person who revived the Cannonball Run, which is the totally illegal cross-country race from New York to California. And he is he lives in Miami now. So
that's awesome.
So he and I had fritas the other day. He had never had one, and he felt like he finally had a Miami experience. He's been living here for a couple of years, so he is committed to being on the show at some point when he's back in town. So
well, then the next time I'm going to get us a cyclist, and we're just going to talk to a Miami cyclist about food for a while too.
Boo! That sounds boring. We already did that with that Miami fruit guy.
Bros nerd out about cars, so
We'll try to keep cars to a somewhat minimum, but probably not.
I think that's all we're going to talk about. I think I'm going to have to read up on cars.
Yeah, we're going to have Connie on to talk about her. She was also a manual transmission driver.
Yeah.
Although doesn't care about cars, but whatever.
Only you.
All right. Only me. All right, get out of here. That's a show.
All right. Till the next time.
Bye.
Bye.